Hello everyone, welcome to my channel. Please subscribe and keep watching more details. General Hospital Wednesday, September 18 recap. Heather is Alexis Cellmate Rick's altered lab results clue. General Hospital, GH, spoilers recap for Wednesday, September 18, reveals that Natalia Ramirez, Eva LaRue, tried to distract Sonny Corinthos, Morris Bernard, with a bottle of bubbly and some good news about deception. But he was worried about Alexis Davis, Nancy Lee Grahn, bail hearing. In the courtroom, Christina Corinthos Davis, Kate Mancy, was forced to settle down after a courtroom outburst. Judge Otis, Jim Hanna, stood by his decision. So Alexis was remanded to Pentonville after hugging Christina. Sam McCall, temporarily played by Lindsay Hartley, and Molly Lansing Davis, Kristen Beginos, won last time. Sam took Christina to GH afterward so she could get some professional help. Felicia Scorpio, Christina Wagner, listened to a distraught Christina and offered support along with all the hospital's resources. Once Sam called Sonny to offer updates on Alexis heading to Pentonville, Sonny wanted to get her out ASAP. Martin Gray, Michael E. Gray, eventually showed up at the penthouse after being summoned. Sonny hired Martin to defend Alexis and made it clear that he needed to do whatever it took to win. Back with Sam, she told a worried Dante Falconeri, Dominic Samprogna, about her plan to put her expert diver skills to good use. Sam wanted to search the river for the dumped gun and hopefully prove Alexis' innocence. Meanwhile, Rick Lansing, Rick Hurst, delivered bad news to Heather Weber, Allie Mills, in the prison visiting area. Heather's lab results showed the difference in cobalt levels was negligible after her surgery, so Rick suggested the faulty hip replacement wasn't the reason she committed her crimes. Heather was baffled and upset over her last chance at a family slipping away. But an apologetic Rick didn't see how the case could move forward now. Rick met up with Elizabeth Baldwin, Rebecca Herbst, at the hospital, where he admitted he was sticking around KC for Molly, despite Heather's case falling through. Liz also found out about Alexis being remanded to Pentonville and was alarmed over that shocker. Later, Rick showed Elizabeth a second set of lab results for Heather that were done at an outside lab. There was a major discrepancy since the other lab showed a substantial difference in the before and after cobalt levels, meaning Heather's levels were now lower than expected. Liz thought the test should be run again since something was obviously wrong here. Our predictions point to Portia Robinson, Brooke Care, messing with the results to keep Heather locked up, so Rick may follow the trail to her soon. Back with Alexis, she was unsure of which bump to take since she hadn't met her cellmate yet. Alexis wasn't pleased when Heather was escorted back to the same cell, but Heather seemed tickled pink. General Hospital spoilers say Heather will no doubt pester Alexis while they're locked up together, so don't miss the fun scenes ahead. The day kicked off with a palpable tension as the wheels of justice continued to turn in unexpected directions. At Pentonville, Alexis Davis, Nancy Lee Grahn, paced her small cell, frustration and uncertainty etched across her face. The walls seemed to be closing in tighter with each passing moment, but she had no idea just how much worse her situation was about to get. The door to her cell creaked open, and Alexis turned to find an all-too-familiar face smiling devilishly back at her. It was Heather Weber, Robin Matson, the notorious, manipulative, and deranged criminal who had haunted Port Charles for years. Heather, with her unsettling smirk, was not someone Alexis had expected to see, let alone share close quarters with. Well, look who it is," Heather purred as she sauntered into the cell. "Alexis Davis, my new roomie. Isn't this just perfect?" Alexis swallowed hard, trying to maintain her composure. Heather was a master at playing mind games, and this time she didn't have her wits fully about her. But Alexis knew one thing. She wasn't going to let Heather get the upper hand. Perfect for whom? Alexis shot back, her voice steady, but her eyes scanning Heather for any sign of an immediate threat. "I'm not in the mood for your games." Heather chuckled, sitting down on the bottom bunk as if she had all the time in the world. "Oh, darling, I'm not playing any games. Not yet, at least. But you should know that being stuck with me is the least of your problems." Alexis's pulse quickened, but she wasn't about to show any weakness. She crossed her arms, leaning back against the cold wall. "And what's that supposed to mean, Heather?" Heather leaned in closer, her voice lowering to a conspiratorial whisper. "Let's just say not everyone in Port Charles is who they seem to be. I've been listening to some interesting conversations around here. Some of them might even concern your precious loved ones. Your daughter, for example." A chill ran down Alexis's spine at the mention of her family, but she wasn't going to let Heather know she had struck a nerve. She needed to keep calm, but inside, she was already planning her next move. Whatever Heather had up her sleeve, Alexis would be ready. Meanwhile, back at General Hospital, the plot was thickening on a different front. Rick Lansing, Rick Hurst, was on edge, and for good reason. For weeks now, he had been working behind the scenes to alter lab results that could exonerate someone in a high-profile case, or implicate the wrong person altogether. And today, the results of his tampering were finally coming to light. In the hospital's pristine lab, Elizabeth Weber, Rebecca Herbst, was meticulously reviewing some test results. She had a nagging feeling something wasn't adding up. As she clicked through the records, her heart sank. The blood test she had run 2 days ago had been altered. But who would have tampered with the results, and why? She immediately called Finn, Michael Easton, to take a look. The two of them began poring over the data, trying to make sense of the discrepancy. It wasn't long before Finn found the smoking gun, traces of a rare chemical used to fabricate certain DNA markers. Someone had altered the paternity results of a recent test, and that someone was clearly trying to manipulate a family's future. "This is huge," Finn said, running his fingers through his hair. "We're not just talking about a small mistake. Whoever did this knew exactly what they were doing." Elizabeth nodded, her mind racing. But who would go to such lengths to change the results, and why? Finn glanced at her, knowing the answer was complicated. There are a lot of people in this town with secrets they're willing to protect at any cost. As they worked to piece together the clues, Rick Lansing found himself sweating under the pressure. He had thought his plan was foolproof, but it seemed cracks were already beginning to show. He had altered the results to shield a powerful ally. But now, with Elizabeth and Finn on the trail, he knew it was only a matter of time before his scheme unraveled. Desperate, Rick made a call to a shadowy figure, someone who had helped him with the original tampering. "We have a problem," Rick said, his voice shaking slightly. "Those results, they are being scrutinized. If we don't do something fast, this whole thing is going to blow up in our faces." The voice on the other end of the line was calm, almost indifferent. "You should have covered your tracks better, Rick. But don't worry. I have a way to fix this. Meet me tonight." As Rick hung up, dread settled deep in his stomach. He had already crossed too many lines, and now he was stuck in a web of lies he couldn't escape. He just hoped he could pull off one last move before everything fell apart. At the same time, Anna Devane, Finola Hughes, had been quietly investigating Rick for weeks, suspecting that he was up to something. She had noticed the subtle changes in his behavior, the secret meetings, the sudden interest in certain lab results, and her instincts told her he was involved in something big. With Robert Scorpio, Tristan Rogers, by her side, Anna was determined to uncover the truth, no matter how deep Rick's deception ran. Later that evening, as the sun set over Port Charles, Alexis sat on her bunk, trying to keep her mind sharp despite the tension in the cell. Heather was humming a tune under her breath, clearly enjoying the discomfort she caused. But Alexis wasn't going to let her guard down. She had to stay focused, for herself and for her family. Suddenly, Heather stopped humming and turned to Alexis with a glint in her eye. "You know, Alexis, there's something I should probably tell you about those results Rick's been messing with. But you'll have to earn that information." Alexis stared at her, unsure of whether Heather was bluffing, or if she truly held a key piece of the puzzle. Either way, it seemed that Alexis's problems were far from over. And in the twisted game that was life in Port Charles, trust was a luxury no one could afford.